That might or might not be something that we'll see if that is effective in promoting mediation. My own experience in working with some legal systems where the judge actually proposes a number to the parties is often counterproductive to the process of encouraging settlement. But we'll see. I mean, it's an early phase. Italy tried this years ago, and it was a disaster because judges, they do it at the beginning of the case when they're not educated yet on who's right, who's wrong. They're not trained to mediate. They don't know the psychology of mediation, the techniques of mediation. They just kind of look at the case and say, you ask for X, she asks for Y.
What about
in the middle? And it tends to favor the party with the most extreme position.
One of the things that's happening is that these judges have assistants, and these assistants are conducting the mediation even before it gets to the judge.
Okay.
So that's helping a lot.
And that helps, right? Because the problem we had in Italy, for example, was that it was the same judge who was going to hear the case. So neither party really had any interest in appearing to want to compromise their claim before the person who was going to decide the dispute. It'll be interesting to see if this actually leads to greater adoption or awareness of mediation. In fact, I wanted to conclude by asking you just sort of a cultural question in terms of being a Brazilian lawyer who specializes, among other things, really in dispute resolution. What's your sense or what your perception of Brazilian culture and how Brazilians see themselves? Do Brazilians see themselves as being very litigious or not litigious, or what?
Brazilians see themselves as absolutely non-litigious. The culture,
apart from the 2.5 million labor cases that are in the book.
Yes. That aside, Brazilians don't like to fight. They like compromises even before an issue arises. You see, a negotiation of an EPC agreement, for example, is anathema to the Brazilian culture. The face-to-face verbal confrontation is not something Brazilians will like. You see that in negotiation there's always some personal relationship going on. There's always an effort to make the whole situation more personable and less problematic and less conflict, a lesser level of conflict. Having said that, once the fight starts, then everything is fair game. All bets are off, and if you cross a certain level, a certain threshold, then Brazilians will not be reluctant to be very aggressive if necessary.
But there's a real presumption or a desire not to get there.
Absolutely, absolutely. There is it's cultural. Brazilians do not like conflict.
Well, great. Listen, thank you very much for taking the time to speak. One final quick question. I just want to ask you predictions for the World Cup 2010 in South Africa. What do you?
Brazil was a winner, Argentina the last one.
You've been listening to International Dispute Negotiation. This podcast is presented by the International Institute for Conflict Prevention and Resolution, CPR. CPR is a membership-based nonprofit organization that promotes excellence and innovation in public and private dispute resolution, providing an international resource for the avoidance, management, and resolution of business disputes.